I would be trying to convey some sort of a wisdom for dads. This is how we can be better dads, and this is how we can improve. And I'll be trying to pass that wisdom along. And I believe that it is necessary because we need some good dads on this planet. But to me, and I think that is the reason why in my house, personally, Father's Day just hit a little different this year. As you see, my wife and I, we are not too far away from being empty nesters. A moment we actually thought would never happen. And we live in a society. Just give it a moment. By the way, my wife said you will not be able to do this, you're going to cry. We live in a society where the man and fathers are made to be nothing. So this morning, I'm not going to speak to the dads. This morning, I'm going to speak to everybody in the house surrounding our dads. Right? Maybe sitting next to one or in front of one or behind one. I think our dads also needs to hear this. But I think everyone around us needs to hear this morning. Why? Because what I'm about to say is something that we are not always willing to hear. Because men are supposed to be cowboys, right? Cowboys don't cry. Cowboys just rough it out and stick it out and carry a weight. And it's good, and we're supposed to carry a weight. And I'm trying to, and I have tried to, and I will continue to teach my son that as a man and as a husband one day and as a father one day, there's going to be a weight on your shoulder. And you're going to carry it. But there's some stuff we never talk about when it comes to men, when it comes to dads specifically. So I'm just going to lay it out there. Is that okay? Is that okay? All right. Let me start here. A lot of us as dads are tired. Tired. Not physically. We go to bed, we wake up, we're good for work. We're tired emotionally. We're tired when it comes to the stuff in our spirit. We're tired when we have to deal with the inside stuff. And then I'm not even talking about the mental stuff. But we carry a form of tiredness from a very young age. Because from a young age, a guy is told and he's taught that you hide that away. You have to be strong. That part, no one's supposed to know about. You hide that away. Why? Because we are told, and we come from a place where tiredness would equal weakness, and weakness can absolutely not be tolerated in a man. So what do? And I'm sure all the dads and all the men will help me out. We get to a place where we have conversations. Right? And if this have ever happened to you, you will know what I'm talking about, guys. Because our wives are better at us at making friends. So let me use this as an example. So she will make friends and we will tag along. Right? And then the guys will look at each other like, I mean, when in the car, it's like, yeah, and this is really from a, he's a nice guy, and you live that, and they're such nice people, and then it's like, so hoe gaan dit met jou? And you know what the question is we ask, and the conversation is we're getting into? We don't talk about who we are, we talk about what we do. Because the only value that we believe we have is not in who we are. The only value that society gives us is not in who we are. It's in what we do. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about success. We'll talk about the business or work. How we are masters in doing that. And in doing so, we've swapped the value of being for the value of doing. And in this, and this is where I need the help of everybody who's sitting next to a dad this morning, sitting next to a man this morning. We need help because we have a skew measuring stick. We need help because the measuring stick this world and society and life has given us is one that only asks, what do you do? What do you earn? When are you? And you can fill in the blanks, right? When are you getting that car? When are you buying your house? When are you driving that thing? When are you? And we sort of have to live with those as expectations. And in our minds, the all okay that we have to give ourselves in order to be able to love and to protect and to care for those that has been cherished in our presence only happens when we can tick off all of those boxes. And sometimes the people around us don't understand that. And I'm not saying it is right or it's wrong. I'm providing context into the way we think. So, what we say is, as long as I can carry the burden, this unspoken burden, then I'm good enough. Because you know what we have noticed? And again, I'm sure every dad, every father, and most men in this house, and maybe watching this or maybe listening to this, would be able to help me out here. You know what we've noticed? As soon as it seems that we're struggling, those around us pick up on that. And what they pick up on is that we become quiet and we draw away. We step aside. So we say to ourselves, and it's our own fault, but we say to ourselves, I will rather carry the stuff so that no one else sees. And I just as a side note, I have to this morning, and I can exhale when I do this. I have to this morning just say I commend my wife for this. Because after 21 years of being married to this guy, she's sensitive to pick up on that. And she knows how to draw me back. Otherwise, I don't know where I would have been. Probably out there doing something really stupid. She has the ability to do that. So to everyone around our dads, just know this. Just know when we pull away, we're not mad at you. What we're actually saying is, sometimes, is help me, I'm drowning. Or I'm in over my head. Or I don't know what to do. Or you know what? I just need to be able to be someone that I feel safe enough with to switch off and just exhale. Because what I need you to know this morning is that us, dads, fathers, men, us, we need to exhale our failed plans. We need to exhale those dreams that we've given up on. That thinking that we failed those around us, because as we measure, and I know there's not a dad in this house that haven't said this, we say to ourselves, I should have been so much further. By this time, I thought I would have been able to do this for my house, and this for my wife, and this for my kids, and we've been taught how to be strong, but we've never been taught how to be healed from our wounds. So this morning, I'm not saying this lightly, and I'm not saying this for sympathy. And listen, hear me out this morning. I'm talking to the people surrounded by good dads. There are some deadbeat men out there, and I'm the first to acknowledge it. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the good guys. Those I'm actually friends with. What I'm doing is I'm merely giving words to the quiet that so many of us, of our families, of our wives, of our parents, of our kids, that quiet that you experience, and that you may sometimes just label as anger, or that you may label as frustration. Because sometimes it is, sometimes we just had a sucky day at work, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes we are exhaling on maybe another plan that failed, or another dream that we just stuck on the rack. You see, what all the good dads know, I believe, is that we know and we understand our calling. We know the importance. We know the weight. And the best way I can explain this, en as ek het Tommy by 'n gym gehad, het ek dit gebring vanoggend van my seun, he loves to squat. The best way I can explain this is that there is this invisible spiritual squat bar on your shoulders. Nou as jy nie weet wat dit is nie, né? Dis so, hoe swaar is hy? 20 kg, né? Net die bar. So the bar alone is 20 kg. And then you sort of do this thing, and you need to balance, and you need to do this, and by heavens, I'm not going to go down. But then you go down. There's a saying that they have in the gym that I can't mention here because we're in the church. But a specific body part of you must touch the grass, or come as close as touching the grass, and it rhymes with grass, so they say you must be out. So you must do this thing while you're holding on to this thing, while there's weight on that. Now I want you to imagine that as a physical exercise, but I want you also to imagine that as a spiritual weight that we carry as dads. And I believe, and I know it's true, that all good dads knows about this, and we carry this. And it is a real heavy weight. I'm going to read to you how heavy this weight is. Let me read it to you quickly. Ephesians 5:25 and 26 says, for husbands, and by inference then dads as well, right? This means love your wives. And then he goes on further and he says, just as Christ loved the church. Man, let me tell you something this morning. If you're a good dad, if you're a good husband, that is a weight that you carry. That you need to love your wife, to love your family, How? As Christ loved his church. How did Christ love his church? Love his church? He died for her. So we put that weight on our shoulders and we carry it. And I bet you any good dad in this house will die for his family, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. It's a weight that we know we are carrying. I want you to see this morning as Christ loved the church. He didn't just provide, he gave himself. Right? And a lot of our dads, and let me speak to the dads quickly. May I have a minute to speak to the dads quickly? A lot of our dads are trying our best to do number one. We say, as long as I can provide, then in my books, that must be a good dad. As long as I provide, and we live in the big house, and we drive the fancy car and the new car, and the business is coming in, but your wife and your kids know nothing of you, they see nothing of you, you're gone. You see, it goes far beyond provision. It goes beyond laying down your life. Your life. So everything that I've spoken of, Dad, everything, that is why it's easy for us to say, this plan didn't work, but I'm going to make another one. This dream, I really wanted to be a helicopter pilot, but I'll go and work for my meager salary because I'm providing, because I'm caring, because I'm there. And unfortunately, not all dads do that. That's why the good ones are here, and the good ones are listening, and the good ones are watching. But I don't want to dwell on that. Okay, let me go back. Because in this, I need to acknowledge the single moms where dads walked away. I need to acknowledge kids that grew up without a dad that carried that burden. I need to acknowledge that if that might have been you, or you, then I'm so sorry. And I need to tell you that not all of us are like that. We know it's a massive responsibility. And what we need, and I want you to understand this, that's why I'm speaking to everyone surrounding our dads. As we carry that weight, we full want to carry that. And we don't need someone to lighten the weight. We don't need someone to come along, let me take out this weight. You just carry it. No. Because that weight comes from God. It doesn't come from man. What we need is someone to help us improve so that we become strong. So that these legs can carry this weight. We need someone that can provide balance so that I'm standing and I've got that weight. And everyone that's ever done a squat knows without weight or without balance and without your hips working correctly, you will never do a heavy squat. Same mentally, emotionally, same spiritually. What we need from those watching us and those seeing us as we carry this weight is want to be our cheerleaders. Woo! What? Yes, please do that. Yes, please do that. Because I bet you 99% of the men in this house don't get that from anywhere else. And by the way, we don't want it from anywhere else. We want that recognition from our home. Just cheer for us. Just cheer for us. Help us balance. Help us balance. When we're there and we're carrying that and it's a hard day and we feel that we might be falling forward or falling backward, just help us. Just help us balance. Just be a good spotter. That's what they call it in the gym. And then when you see we are down there, body part to the grass, our faces are all red, and we're pushing upwards. And it might just be that we have added some extra weight, or the Lord has added some extra weight in the way of a responsibility or something at work or whatever that case might be. And you see us down there, and we're going, and it's red and it's hard everywhere else, and as we're pushing up, just let us know that we can do it. Just let us know that we can do it. I want to just give us a biblical recipe for doing this. Is that okay? To the dads and to everyone that is saying, I get this, and I'm going to help. I'm going to support this. And this comes from the book of Deuteronomy. And I love this passage when I've got two new parents in front of me and we're dedicating a child. But I want to read this passage to you, and I want you to read this with me this morning, verse by verse. And this is the Lord through Moses explaining to the people, this is how I need your lives to be. So help me with this. Verse 1, Deuteronomy 6, verse 1. These are the commands, the decrees, the laws the Lord your God has directed me to teach to you, to observe in the land you are crossing the Jordan to possess. Verse 2, so that you, your children, and their children after them may fear the Lord your God as long as you live, by keeping all his decrees and commands that I give you, and so that you may enjoy a long life. Let's pause there quickly. Let's pause there quickly. If we get to a place where we keep our homes, or then rearrange our homes, or to be at this place. And by the way, it's not a pedagogical place where I sit here and you sit there and I teach you like this, and then it is we step together, we walk together, we do together, we live this together, and you will see it now, what it is. Then there is such a beautiful promise. And the promise is this: you will enjoy, not just have. We tend to miss that little word there. Not endure, because some of us endures a long life. We don't enjoy it. You will enjoy a long life. Now, I don't know what enjoy is described as in your vocabulary. But in mine, it has a smile. In mine, it has a lot of laughter. In mine, it has peace. In mine, it has quiet times and rough times and exciting times and just messy times. You will enjoy a long life. So here we go. Are you ready? Tell the person next to you, here we go. Tell the person next to you, here's a recipe, here's a recipe. All right. Hear Israel, verse 3. Hear Israel, and be careful to obey so that it may go well with you and you may increase greatly in a land flowing with milk and honey. If you want to live in a land flowing with milk and honey, be careful to obey. Be careful to obey. And just maybe let me mention this. Not only obeying the parts you like, and then the parts we don't like, it's not applicable to me. That goes for you as well, right? No one will lie so good to you in your face like you yourself. The obey part is everything for all of us. Then it will go good. It will go well. You will live in the land of milk and honey, just as the Lord God, your ancestors, has promised you. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Here we go. Love the Lord your God with all your heart. We hear this when Jesus is speaking to the young rich man as well, right? Love him with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength, all your heart, all your soul, all your strength, all your stress. That won't work. So let me repeat it one more time. All your heart. All your heart. Dads, let me speak to you for a minute again. Your heart is firstly supposed to belong to the Lord. And if you get that part right, the other part, the rest of where your heart belongs, goes so much easier. I bet you. With all your heart. With all your soul. What is your soul? Your thinking, your intellect, your emotions. With all your strength. Strength to stand up straight. Carry that bar, that squat bar. Go down and do your rep and come back up. With all your heart, all your soul, all your strength. But then it goes further. It says, these commands that I give you today are to be on your hearts. Ooh. It's one thing to know something. It's another thing to love something. To have it inscribed in your heart. I mean, I know all 4 of our dogs. I like 2 of them. I love one of them. I know it's a silly example, but it's a good example. Because I think sometimes we do this with the Lord as well, right? We kind of like the Lord, our God, when things go our way. Love the Lord your God. Have it inscribed on your heart. And then it goes further. It says, verse 7, impress them on your children. That's why I say, it's not that you sit down and you say, this is what I want you to do. It is that your kids can see by the way that dad does stuff and the way that mom does stuff. That is the way we are going to do stuff. That they are impressed so much by mom and dad. Or then seeing that it's Father's Day by dad. Guys, I'm loading your squat bar. Impress them on your child. And then, after you've impressed, then you talk about. Talk about them when you sit at home. You see, it's a nice word that it's not talk about them when you're at church for an hour. Or allow the dominee to talk about them when you're at church for. No. talk about them when you are at home. And it goes further. It says when you are walking along the road, okay? When you lie down, okay? And when you get up. In fact, Moses says, verse 8, tie them as symbols on your hands and bind them on your foreheads. Let me give it to you in Unique Speak. Let it be so visible that anyone around you can't help but see and notice and know. Write them on the door frames of your houses and on your gates. When you walk into this house, when you step into this place, that responsibility will always start with you. How do I want the place to feel like, to be? Let me nerd out for 30 seconds and then I'm going to close. Children has the ability, neuroscience says this, by the way. Children has the ability to know the mood that you are in by the way that you open and close the front door. Jou maak die hare tap 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 tap. Jou maar tap tap tap. The way I want my house to feel starts right here before I open this door. And I as a dad, I can decide when I open this, are they going to be scared tonight? Are they going to be angry tonight? Are they going to run away and hide? Or they're going to run towards me? I get to decide that. I get to decide that. So, you get to decide that. You can't put that on anyone else. Anyone else. So I'm asking you, how do you want your house to feel like? How do you want your home to be? How do you want your evenings to end? This morning, to our dads, I haven't prepared a gift. Auntie Gail has. And thank you. And I haven't prepared a gift like I normally do for our dads. I've prepared something for all of us, which our dads can partake in. I've attempted to create a moment after church. Remember in the beginning we spoke about moments? I've attempted to create a moment for every dad in this house. If you're with your family, maybe not with your family, to step outside, to make yourself a worsbrolletjie. There's wors, there's rolletjie, there's mustard, there's tomato sauce, and there's sweet chili sauce. Worsrolletjie. To sit down and to have a moment. Maybe with your kids, maybe with your parents, maybe just with the folk around you. Maybe your dad ain't here. And before you go make your worsrolletjie, you're first going to just make a phone call. Create a moment. Maybe you're just going to send a voice note. because your son or your daughter isn't here. I don't know, but what I've attempted to do for us is create a moment of the church. So I'm going to ask you this morning to stick around just for a little bit and help me out on this as we create a moment. Because what I want us to learn from this, dads, is that we need to stop ticking the boxes. Even here at church, right? Create a moment. And then go home today and wake up tomorrow and next week and the months and the years going forward from this and learn something from today. I can create a moment. On that last 3 minutes that you guys saw, I was too scared to look up because on that last 3 minutes, it was 126 photos. So 126 moments. Hey, you know what? That's only a little part of the moments I carry here. Because we don't take a lot of photos. But let me tell you something. I am ready, this guy. I am ready to go create not only 100 more, but thousands more. Thousands more. And I challenge you, and I implore you to do the same.